It is always great to be joined by Ted Nguyen, senior NFL writer here for The Athletic. Ted, we've talked to you multiple times, gotten a ton of great insights from you about the Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams. I think this is our first time talking to you in the offseason. So just let's start there with the offseason for the Bears. What do you think are some of their top priorities right now?
Yeah, I mean, it must feel good as a Bears fan to come into the offseason not having to wonder who the next coach is going to be, who the next quarterback is going to be. There's so much that is set right now. I think, looking at the offense, I don't know if they have to make a ton of improvements on the offensive side of the ball. It feels like every position is sort of set. I mean, of course, you could always add a little bit of depth, but it just seems like they have the guys in place where they can just develop the guys there.
When you look at, I want to talk about the wide receiver room,
hmm
because you look at Luther Burden, a rookie. You look at DJ Moore getting paid a lot of money. We saw some drop passes from him this year. Inconsistency, I think. Obviously, a lot of Bears fans will not forget how the 2025 season ended on that final play there. But then you look at Rome Odunze, second year in the league. I think a lot of us were hopeful he was going to take an even bigger step here. I think big picture, you look at who Caleb Williams has right now, even in the wide receiver room. A lot of great options, a lot of great weapons. And for Ben Johnson as a play caller, right, that's got to excite you. But who do you think is going to end up being the number one receiver next season? Let's start there first.
Well, it's going to be Colson Loveland. He's not a
Okay.
receiver, but I just think that he's developed so quickly in his offense as a blocker, and we saw his receiving ability towards the end of the year where it just seemed like he was unstoppable. He had those 100-yard games to end the season. He had a huge game in the playoffs against the Packers. The Rams really focused on taking him away. So to me, that's the guy who's going to play the Amon St. Brown role for Ben Johnson, just because he's so good at running multiple types of routes. He's not just a vertical type of tight end. He's a guy that could run the whole route tree. So to me, the number one receiver. He's the guy that the focal point of the passing game is going to be on, and everybody else is sort of a complementary weapon towards for him, I believe.
Yeah, he's really, as the season progressed on and towards the end of the year, became really Caleb Williams' go-to target, especially on those critical downs, critical situations. Give me your thoughts on DJ Moore, first off, and the year
Yeah,
that he had.
it's a tough fit. I mean, he's
Okay.
not your traditional receiver as far as just a guy that you could line up outside and win a ton of routes. He's not a guy that you could line up inside and really trust him to make a ton of plays in the slot as well. He's kind of sort of a gadget player with some deep threat ability. So I don't know. Obviously, Ben Johnson can find a role for him.
Mhm.
Um, but it just doesn't feel like a natural fit in this offense. I don't know if they do decide to move on from him in the offseason. Especially with Luther Burden kind of getting older, getting a little bit more experience, becoming a bigger part of this offense. And then you also expect Roma Dunze to take a bigger step too. You mentioned that he was a little disappointing last year in his second year, but I really do think the foot injury affected him. I think he started the season hot. I mean, he looked like he looked like he was going to have one of the most productive seasons in the league early on, and then he just tapered off. And I think the foot injury had a lot to do with it. I mean, it's hard to explain how you go from being so productive to kind of being an afterthought. And I loved him coming out the draft as well. So I think um, more, I'm not sure about the fit. I want to see Udunze's role kind of grow. I want to see him be able to play in a slot a little bit more, not just on the outside.
Yeah, Romo Dunze, I believe, 5 touchdowns in the first 4 games there to start the season. Do you think the Bears should keep DJ Moore and have him back next season?
I think if you can work out a deal to trade him somewhere, I think it'd be best for both parties. He's taking up a significant amount of the cap, and like I mentioned, he just does not seem like a natural fit. I think
Mhm.
Luther Burden should be taking a lot of his snaps away next season. If Dunze's healthy, he should be taking a healthy share of the targets as well. I think it'll be fine to have him on the roster, but I just don't know if he's going to be as big of a part of the offense as his salary will warrant.
Okay. See, part of me, I understand that side of things, but also part of me is like, man, what if he of course is still here in Chicago next year, but comes back and has an even better and a stronger season as well. Um, let's talk about Caleb Williams. Because we obviously saw tremendous growth from him year two in the NFL, year one in Ben Johnson's offense. You and I have talked multiple times, and you said how you really think year three, second year in Ben's offense, third year in the league is when you think he will take a massive step. Um, First off, the inaccuracy issues that we saw throughout the season, the drop passes with the receivers, and we've discussed before how that's probably large in part because of they need more reps, they need more chemistry together. Luther's a young guy, Rome second year too, young guy, Colson, and then they overall just kind of need more time together. Do you think that narrative has been overblown a bit?
No, I think in a timing offense like Ben Johnson's, you need reps and you need timing.
Yeah.
I don't think Caleb Williams is an inaccurate passer as far as just natural accuracy. I think it all has to do with his feet, how fast his mind is moving, all those things. So as he gets more experience and he calms down a little bit, and I think there will be a natural calming as he's more comfortable in his offense. Next year, we'll see some of those missed passes, his off target rate drop. So and they left so many yards on the field because of those off
Totally.
target passes. So I think this offense will naturally take a huge step if that cuts down. And I think it's going to take hard work. It's not just he's going to get used to the offense. He has to work on his footwork in the offseason. He has to remain vigilant in trying to play within the timing of his offense. It takes practice time, training camp time with his receivers. They have to be working off the field as well. But I do think as he gets more comfortable, that off target rate will go down. I don't think he's just a guy that's going to be missing passes high his whole career. I feel like he's a very strong, talented, natural passer of the ball.
Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball because this is a team, when you take away those 33 takeaways that led the NFL in the regular season, right? When you look at their pass defense, their rush defense, it statistically was not great. Obviously, Dennis Allen, you have to give him some credit here throughout the season because
Mhm.
he's dealt with multiple injuries. And one of those guys that was consistently banged up was Kyler Gordon. Um, Two IR stints, and you look at the linebackers at one point, they didn't have any of their starting linebackers. So DA had to get really creative here. Let's start here with Kyler Gordon. Tell me how important you think he will be next season.
Huge. I did an article where I talked to defensive coaches around the league about the importance of the nickel position now. The nickel position used to be kind of an afterthought. It used to be a position where, you just put your third corner there because you had to cover a slot receiver on third downs. But with how defenses have trended, um, having a guy in a nickel that could defend a run, that could take away the middle of the field, could do all those things are so impactful. Just look at the Seattle defense, some of the defenses that were really strong throughout the season and into postseason. They all have strong nickels. Cooper DeJean, Quentin Lake from the Rams, Nick Emenwari from the Seahawks. All those teams have nickels that perform at a high level. And even when you look at the Bears, if you just look at their splits with Kyler Gordon on the field and off the field, his impact is huge. And I think moving on in this modern NFL, having a guy that could help you defend a run in those sub packages meaning five or more defensive backs, is a huge key to being able to play or match up with these modern offenses. So I think getting Kyler Gordon back will add to this room, especially if he can stay healthy for the whole season. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to do. Like you have to add some defensive linemen, maybe add some cornerback depth. But I think you cannot understate the impact that Kyler Gordon will have on this defense if he's healthy coming into next season.
Yeah, and by the way, he's also getting paid a lot of
Mhm.
money as well. You'd hope that he can certainly have a healthier season next year. You look at this defense, they obviously struggle with rushing with their front four there. I think overall too, they need some speed on this defense. When you look at Dennis Allen and who he is as a defensive coordinator, what kind of guys does he need on this defense?
Yeah, I think addressing the defensive tackle room is going to be really important. He likes being able to push the pocket, not necessarily have a bunch of speed rushers. If you look at the defensive linemen that he had with the New Orleans Saints, they were guys that really could push the pocket and collapse it in. I think he didn't really like having speed rushers that would often kind of lose their pass rush lanes because he wants to play a lot of man coverage. And when you play a lot of man coverage, you have your guys with their backs turned towards the quarterback. So if he gets out of the pocket and scrambles, you're kind of susceptible there. So to me, adding a big defensive end like maybe Hendrickson, Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals to go with Montez Sweat, I feel like that would be a really nice pairing. And when you're playing in a man coverage type of scheme, you can never have enough corners. I think Deshaun Wright is a nice story for the Bears, and he could continue to develop as well. But I think you can't just be happy with believing that he's going to take the next step and Johnson is going to stay healthy for the whole season. I think you should just add to that corner room just in case something happens. Alontae Taylor, who played for Dennis Allen, is going to be a free agent as well, so that could be a good signing. So I think I talked about. I feel like the offense really you don't need to add too much to that room. A lot of the focus should be on the defense and adding to that defensive line and adding to the cornerback room.
100%. No, I totally agree with you there. You look at though, right, this defensive line. Thoughts on, because I know you also cover the Raiders. You've been covering them for the last few seasons. Thoughts? There's been some conversations here in Chicago about, hey, what about Max Crosby? Obviously, I'm familiar with him too. Was in Vegas for 2.5 years. I mean, that talk about someone, great locker room guy to have. Obviously, a leader. We both know how much that front office in Las Vegas values Max. They want him. They value his voice and his opinion. He's got a relentless motor on the field. Thoughts on him being a Chicago Bear and if the Bears could make a move to land someone like him?
Yeah, well, the last time the Bears traded for a Raiders pass rusher, it ended not too well for the Raiders, especially wasting those draft picks they got back from the Bears. So I think it'd be a pretty hard sell to Mark Davis to once again trade away your best pass rusher to the Chicago Bears. But I think with the news dropping right before we got on this podcast that they were able to get Clint Kubiak, I feel like they're not going to just kind of blow everything up. I feel like Clint Kubiak is a guy they feel like can put things together pretty quickly for this offense. They do have some talent. They're going to be able to bring in Fernando Mendoza. So I don't think they're going to blow things up. I feel like if maybe they lost out on Clint Kubiak and they had to go with their second option or third option at coach, they might consider blowing things up, and that would put Max Crosby on the trading block. So I think with today's news, it's less likely he'll be on a trading block, but ultimately it'll be up to Max Crosby because I do feel like the relationship was strained last year, especially when they shut him down. So it'll be up to the Raiders to kind of mend that relationship. But yeah, if Crosby is on a trading block, I feel like the Bears are in position to make a swing. I mean, they have Caleb Williams on his rookie deal still, and getting a player like that to add to the defense would be a perfect fit if they can make it happen.
I believe the Raiders, do they have 100 million in cap space to play with,
Hmm.
right? Obviously have the top pick. Most likely we'll get a quarterback like Fernando Mendoza here. How unhappy is Max Crosby in Las Vegas right now?
I feel like he's really committed to Las Vegas. I mean, he has a Raiders tattoo on him, so that's hard to erase. And I think the relationship was strained towards the end of the year when they shut him down when he felt like he could have kept playing. Some saw that as a move to tank for Mendoza. Maybe Crosby kind of saw it too. He's a guy that he wants to play every game. Like he's played games
Like,
through some crazy
mhm.
circumstances.
Even
So
if they've got a losing record, he's still going to
yeah,
want to play because that's just the
exactly.
kind of guy that he is.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we could go through the stories, but he's played through some games where he definitely should not have played. And it's got to be hard, even though he wants the Raiders to be great, that they have to go through coach after coach. I mean, it's just one and done coaches over and over again. So I think that's tough for him. But if he does believe in Kubiak, and Kubiak was, to me, at least a second-rated coach candidate in this cycle. There was no Ben Johnsons in this cycle, but I feel like Clint is probably in the next tier of candidates as far as attractiveness. So we'll see how much he believes in Clint, but I will say it's got to be tough on any player when you just see coach after coach keep getting fired and guys getting rehired.
The revolving door there when it comes to
Mhm.
the head coaching position in Las Vegas. Trey Hendrickson, obviously the top free agent in the NFL in the offseason here. How would he fit alongside a Montez Sweat? Because Montez Sweat, also someone that's getting paid a ton of money on this team. I believe 10 sacks is what he finished with this past season. Ben has talked about before how the sack numbers did not show it, but he really felt like Montez Sweat really impacted the game still. I feel like he's bit kind of a number two guy, right? He needs someone
Mhm.
else. You said it before too, on the D line to kind of take the attention off of him. How could they pair together?
Yeah, to me, it's a perfect fit. Like I mentioned, Dennis Allen likes those bigger defensive ends. Trey Hendrickson is a bigger defensive end. And Sweat, when he's in that number two role, he could go against a lesser of the two tackles that he has to face. He'll get less chip blocks. And he's a guy that, he could bull rush the quarterback. And if he has another really strong rusher that can make that quarterback step up right into him, he fits that role perfectly. So to me, if you get Hendrickson on the other side, you have two power rushers. You slot him in that number two role. He's going to be way more productive. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the Bengals are going to do if they decide to franchise tag Hendrickson again. But to me, I mean, I love that fit, and I feel like that would be one of the best free agent fits of the offseason if they can make that happen.
Okay. We're obviously at a point in the year. It is early February where we're going to continue to see some coaching changes, front office changes as well. Former Bears assistant now GM Ian Cunningham. He is now the general manager in Atlanta. Declan Doyle is going to be in Baltimore there as the offensive coordinator. He's going to get to call plays. He didn't get to do that while he was here with the Bears with Ben Johnson in year one. Why why do you think Declan Doyle here is making this move to Baltimore?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the ability to call plays. I mean, you have a good year calling plays, all of a sudden your name is going to be in that head coaching cycle. People are going to start looking at you to take over the franchise. I think that's his dream for any coach. And he's had a good lineage. He's coached with Sean Payton. He's been with Ben Johnson. He was part of a big resurgence last year, and I think his work with Caleb Williams and kind of turning his game around. I think they want a little bit of that for Lamar Jackson. There were reports where about Todd Monken not having the greatest relationship with Lamar Jackson. So I think finding a coach that can have a good relationship with him, but still be able to coach him hard and get him to play within the system is important. So I feel like there's some proof of concept there for Doyle, and I think that's what really attracted the Ravens to him. And this is a huge opportunity for Doyle, who never called plays before, to all of a sudden go into a very talented offense with a MVP type of quarterback. I mean, that was a job a lot of people wanted. So he's got it, and if he does well, he's going to be a guy that people talk about as a head coach candidate next year.
I still can't get over the fact, to be honest with you, that he's what, 29 years old.
Hmm.
He is younger than the both of us. And now he's, of course, getting the chance to go to Baltimore with the Ravens and be their offensive coordinator. Okay, Ted, we just mentioned Ian Cunningham, GM. If you were to give me two roster moves for the Bears that you would want to see them make this offseason. I feel like we're going to lean defense here because, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be defense. It's Trey Hendrickson and it's going Alante Taylor. I feel like those guys just fit what Dennis Allen wants to do so well. Add to the cornerback room, get a number one rusher for this defense, and get a D tackle. I think there are some. This is a good draft class for defensive tackles. I can't. I haven't watched a ton of them, so I can't give you names. I just know that I trust my guy Dane Brugler from the Athletic, and he likes his defensive tackle class. So I feel like you sign those two guys, you draft a defensive tackle, and all of a sudden this defense is humming. This offense takes the next step, and who knows what could happen next year.
Awesome, awesome. And Ted, I believe you are headed to the Super Bowl this week, right? To see the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots go at it. Before we let you go, real quick, give me your thoughts on the Super Bowl matchup and who you got.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna make me eat my words, but I think the Seattle Seahawks are gonna win in a pretty decisive way against the New England Patriots. I feel like the NFC has been the toughest division to go through this whole season and throughout the playoffs. The Seahawks just has been a extremely consistent team throughout the playoffs. The only question was, can Sam Darnold perform in a big game? And he had the best game I've ever seen him play against the Rams in the NFC Championship. So that answers that question. I feel like the Patriots had a luckier road towards the Super Bowl. They
Luckier, a bit of an easier schedule
yeah.
as well.
Easier schedule, and then they played some really banged up teams with the Chargers and the Texans, and then they play Jarrett Stidham in the AFC Championship game. Not to take anything away from them, I mean they're an upstart team, but it's like if the Bears made the Super Bowl, like that the Bears are headed in the right direction, but they don't feel like a championship team just quite yet.
Yeah. All right, big week ahead of you here. Ted Nguyen, thanks so much for your time, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.